Okay, great. So today we're talking about the difference between the major and the minor scales, and then I'm going to show you something very, hopefully very interesting for you. Let's see how we're doing, and I'm switching it over, and here I'm sharing my screen. So if you guys will click on that, we can get to, can everyone see that?
Yes.
So you should be seeing my music written out on the page. And I've designated what we've seen before, and I'm just pulling it up again to review. We have a major scale. This particular one starts on C, and remember, of course, the music alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So this is C, D, E, F, G. Then it starts over again, A, B, C, and you could keep going up. I wrote the names of the notes down here for you, but I want to point out what we call a scale degree. And a scale degree is the position in the scale and its importance in the position. So it's almost like designating solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do for Western solfege. It's almost like designating that. And in fact, many choir directors, instead of singing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, they sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
So that's an interesting way to do it because it talks about kind of the function of the note in the scale. And that's where we get our differences, as you notice over here. So let's just first listen to the major scale. Really simple. So easy major scale. And then the minor scale, if you look at each individual note here, let me edit. Each individual note here, you'll notice that this is the first scale degree. Here's the second. The third is on the first line. You see it? The first line of the staff. Okay. The fourth, the fifth, the sixth is on the second space. I'm pointing this out because of what's coming next. So the second space up, here's the first space, there's the second space. That's the sixth scale degree. The seventh scale degree is in the middle line. So the line that's in the middle, and that's B, okay? And then, of course, there we're back to 1 again. We also call it 8, but in reality, it is just 1 again because it's a C. It's a repeat of the octave. Now, with the natural minor scale, and let me let you hear it first. And of course, you've heard that scale before. And that minor scale is modified by changing the third, so 1, 2, 3, and making it lower. So that's a flat. The flat makes it lower, like your car goes down when you get a flat tire. So that's the third note in the scale, and then fourth, fifth, sixth note, and seventh note. So the third, the sixth, and the seventh, right before the octave again, those are the ones that are modified. Now, and those are all 3 flatted, which means they're lowered. If I were playing it on the piano, I would play a white note, black note, white note, black note, black note, white note. So it's on the piano, you can actually visually see where you're moving to because of that pattern of, and let me pull that up. So, yes. So here is, hold on. So there's the natural minor scale. And let me show you on the keyboard here. Can you guys see the keyboard?
Yes. By the way,
Okay.
just a heads up, I've muted Tiger Moth because he was talking over. So if you need to talk, if Tiger Moth mutes himself, then I will unmute you on the server side. Just a heads up. Okay.
Okay. So here is the C. here is the D, and this should be the E right here. Remember, the major scale is all on white notes. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C is this right here. But if I'm going to modify the third, the sixth, and the seventh, it would be C, D, not here, but there. Skip that note right there. Here, here, the sixth, the seventh, and there's the octave. So I would leave these two notes out and move them to here. I would leave this note out and move it to here, and that would create the natural minor scale. So what's important right now to remember is that you have a flatted third, a flatted sixth, and a flatted seventh. Now, if you're looking at the next most common scale, and this will be a scale that will seem fairly familiar to you, I believe, that there's one that's missing, and it is this one right here, the one that was on that third line up, 1, 2, 3, the B, is now natural. It's a regular white note. So instead of playing that B flat that we did, which is right there, we now are going to play this. So the scale would be here, and I'm going to play it in just a second. C, D, E flat, skipping E, going to F, G, A flat, now not here, but here. And that's a big step. It's skipping 2 notes right there. So this skip from A flat to B and then up to C. So here's what the harmonic minor scale sounds like, and maybe you can tell me if there's something parallel in Indian music that I can kind of grab a hold of. This is the harmonic minor scale. Anybody?
Hold on. Let me unmute. I know what it is, but
It is.
you're unmuted, Tiger Moth. Oh, okay, hold on. Tiger Moth, you're unmuted. You can speak now.
Oh, since you scared me,
It's
I thought I should not
Kiravani.
speak.
You just need to mute yourself when you're not speaking, which you still didn't do, which is why I kept you muted.
Okay, yeah, it was Kiravani. The one before that is Natabhairavi. The one before that was Natabhairavi, and this is Kiravani.
Okay. So
Sorry, just to one more point. Kiravani is used in the muezzin when he calls for the prayers. The early morning call of the muezzin for prayers is in Kiravani.
okay.
All over the world almost.
So those are our 2 most used minor scales. And what I wanted to do today was, first off, we were talking, some of you guys were not on yet, but we were talking about the Dorian mode. The Dorian mode has a different, remember I told you that there's a relationship between this note and this note, which is a whole step. And then up here from this note to this note, which is a whole step, and then a half step, then a whole, half. And that's how we create the major scale. The Dorian mode has a different set of whole and half steps. So the modes that are created by starting on a different note, and in this case it starts on D. I always remembered it because D was for Dorian. And the modes were named by the Catholic Church. So we've been stuck with them for years, so we don't really change them. And Dorian mode, the Dorian mode, the Lydian mode, and the Mixolydian mode are our most commonly composed modes. So if something is odd and I can't quite figure out if it fits in the major scale, the minor scale, or the harmonic scale, in my head I'm going to go Dorian, Lydian, or Mixolydian. And usually I don't even try to figure out what it is. Because if I were analyzing the music and actually looking at the notes and trying to figure out what the scale was, I would take the time to do it. But if I'm just listening to it, I don't sit there and say, oh, well, that's Dorian mode right there, and then it goes into the natural minor. I don't do that. So, but I do want to show you this and see, this is our little theme and variation on, let's see what it is and see if you guys can figure this out.
Can I ask a quick question on the mode? So what's the difference between a mode and a scale?
Nothing, actually.
Okay.
The scale, that's a really good question because we have those, what would be 7 modes. But one of the modes, the Ionian mode, is literally just the major scale. That's what it is. So the Ionian mode is based on C. So it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's Ionian. The Aeolian mode is based on the natural minor scale. So really 2 of those modes are just our major and minor scale. There is no mode that encompasses this here. Okay, that's good to see. Oh, good. Thank you for that.
You have to say what? Because
I'm looking at Tiger Moth's thing that he just wrote in the chat because it is giving me the names for the corresponding.
Sure.
Would it be ragas?
Yes.
At that point?
Yeah,
Okay.
everything is raga in Indian music. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Tiger Moth, if you're typing in chat, remember it's not going to come on the video recording, so people are going to lose context. So you may want to just pause and explain it if it's important, or whoever's talking about it, just explain it. So that way people, they won't see it in the thing, in the recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
You must tell me how to do that because last time I tried something like that, you shut me off.
Just take a pause and then say what you need to say instead of talking over someone else. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, so we don't have a mode for harmonic minor scale, but so scales for me, when I think about written music, you can denote the scale by showing the flats on the left, right, before the music starts, in sheet music. But do you do that for modes as well, or are modes just not used like that? Or are modes used the same as scales and there's truly no difference between anything?
My husband is going to chime in.
Okay.
Modes are in essence scales that start, instead of naming them as a key signature, as a key, we name them as a series of ascending notes or ascending and descending notes. And just like scales, they have a pattern of whole steps and half steps that make up that pattern. But minor scales and major scales are the most common.
And to your point, Kala, you're talking about the key signature that happens here.
Yeah.
Remember, it's clef, and then the key signature happens here, and then the time signature. The modes do not have key signatures attached to them, except for the major scale and the minor scale that I just said, the Ionian and the Aeolian mode. Those actually have key signatures to them, but the other ones do not. So you would just have to write it in, like you would write it in a...
You'd have to fit it into an existing key signature.
Exactly. And then just modify the note that is supposed to be modified within and that's not very efficient. I think that's a part of this written music that is, yeah, Martin says that, Martin is talking again. He says that rock and roll has a lot of modes.
It's not so patterned and ordered as, quote, classical.
Yeah, it's not as patterned and organized as classical music. So, so I think that's very interesting that's there. But yeah, I think it's a shortcoming of the written music that the modes don't have their own key signatures. But the thing about it is, not a lot of music is written in modes. So now he's saying the pop music has a lot of modal stuff to it, but classical music really doesn't. So, and rock music, is an oral tradition. So, so a lot of rock music is not written down. A lot of pop music is not written down. People just create the music, whatever sounds good, and then they start playing it, and then they get other people to to learn it too and add what they're going to add, whatever instrument they play. But
Okay.
but the classical music, yeah.
Okay.
So okay. Anybody else have questions before I move on to this interesting thing? How do you say that? Doriani? Doriani? How do you say that?
Oh.
Nata Bhairavi.
Okay, there you go. I can see the letters, but I'm dyslexic, so I switch letters around and words around sometimes in my head. So it's like sometimes when I see like really long words like that, I'm just like, I have no idea what that says. I try really hard, but I just can't physically do it. I have to actually put my finger on the letters. So here's what I'd like to do next. Take a look at this and tell me what you think this is.
To give people some context, Yvette, just because I know how difficult it'll
Yes.
be, can you just play the first note?
No.
Just the first one, so they know where the sa or whatever, like their starting note is. That first note alone, yeah.
Okay, hold on.
If it's possible. Okay, sorry.
So remember, these notes move faster. Those would be second speed. These are your first speed notes. So the rhythm goes down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down.
Another, I guess to make it a little bit easier or to help everyone work through it, maybe one person can take a swag at what that second note would be. So we got da da. Play it again, Yvette, the first one.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm trying. Wait, let me play this first. Wait, here.
Da da. So can someone try what the second note is? Da.
That's a F.
Sing it, Shubha.
Oh gosh.
Da da da. Is it that? Da
No.
da da. Half step.
You're singing. Yes. Da 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 da.
Maya Modagoda.
No, we're not trying to sing a ragam. Just we're trying to sing a song. So da 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 da. So you got. Okay, mute yourself if you're just gonna say. Yeah, so that's the first part. Da 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 da. Can someone try what that next note is?
A.
Sing it.
You
Da.
You're giving a clue, Yvette. Don't give it.
No.
So the funny thing I learned when my kids were learning Western music is when you're reading notes, the first bottom was the first note between the two lines. That's F, and then the next is A C. You remember face?
Yeah, face. Yep.
That's how that's how I kind of read notes. If I don't have that, then it's hard for me to figure out what it is.
So let's work our steps up. So the second note would be like the second line would have been a whole step from the first note, right? So
Da 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 da
da. I can't do it. I think that's enough clues for anyone to guess what the song is.
And you know this song.
Yeah.
This is not a song that's a Western song. You know this song.
Da 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 da.
Da, 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 da,
That's right. That's right. You got it. Good job.
Yes?
Yes.
What is that?
But
You're on mute, Tiger Moth.
Varasiva Balam. That's what.
Yep.
What takes time. Yeah.
Parasiva balam
Vande
vallelolam.
Lolam.
Yep. Okay. Good job. I still, Yvette, this will always probably continue to be a problem until I practice on a piano or something.
How do you
I
spell
Shitar. Yep.
it?
Yep.
Yes.
That's good.
So that's typically where we put composer last name right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got for you the theme of that particular piece, and I put in this, which is the closest I could get to it. We don't have Indian instruments in this particular program, so I put in a flute and a celeste here. So listen just to this song. And by the way, I got this from this.
Oh,
Hold on.
no.
It always makes me
No,
refresh.
Yvette, you won't be able to share the sound unless you set up your app a certain way. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we already do that though?
No, we did not.
Okay. How do I do it?
Go to Discord, go to your settings,
Yes.
and then let me try and remember this. Game activity status under activity.
Yes.
And then you should see a not seeing your game and add it. Like a blue
Yes.
added. Yep. Okay. And then you should have a drop down menu and select whichever browser you want to play it from, wherever it is.
Okay. Alrighty.
I think if there's no save, then you should be good, and that should be it.
Okay, let's see whether or not it did it.
Okay.
So, can I play it from there?
Let me check one thing. Yeah, if you're on Google Chrome, it says you're streaming Google Chrome, so it should be able to do it.
Okay, how does this make sound?
Yes. Yeah.
Gama gama da pa ga pa ma re ma ga sa sa gama gama da pa ga pa ma re sa ga za.
Now, did Kartik post
Yes.
that? Is that who did it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I took that and I wrote this out. So, oops, not that. Okay, here we go. You ready? Like I said, that's the closest instrument I could get. Is that correct?
It's brilliant.
It was very good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't. So you notice I had to continue to play the bottom, the open fifths here. I had to continue to play that because it wouldn't hold over, just for a long period of time. So I had to keep making it play it. So that's why you hear boom, boom, boom. That's why it's still there.
And that, I think, just so a heads up, when Karthik was singing it, he has just a pitch producing machine. It's just an electronic machine that's sitting at the back. What you did almost made it sound like someone was playing the tanpura or veena or something, like an accompaniment behind them, which actually sounded really pretty. I thought it was really cool. Yeah.
So if you guys notice, this looks similar to this. So this would be called, in Western music, would be called the A section, and we label it in the alphabet. So if there's music that's similar, it's usually in the A section. If there's music in the B section that's similar, then that whole section is labeled B. So going back and looking at this, we'll listen to it again. You'll notice that this is A section, this is A section, but when he goes, when he's doing that section, it's different than the first section because it's higher, obviously. The rhythms are the same pretty much, but the pitches are different and higher. So we would label this the B section because it's different music. So I'm going to kind of talk about this in that manner for a little bit, but I want to show you guys this. So really quickly, notice that this is the same as this until you get to the last little section. And notice those two things are not similar. But that is exactly that, and that is exactly that. This is not what that is. So let's look at this really quickly. Oops, wrong thing. Here we go. It started over here. I need it to start there. There we go. So here's the A section. Here's the A section again, with a little bit different here. Here's the B section. B section again, with different right there. So that's kind of what how we would sectionalize music to talk about it as we're looking at it. But what would happen if we took that same melody and put it in the minor scale? So I went through and remember, let's go back and look up here. I need to, in order to put it in minor, I need to flat the third, the sixth, and the seventh. So all of the E flats, all of the E's will be E flat, all of the A's will be A flat, and all of the B's will be B flat. So this is where it might ruffle some feathers, so get ready.
Let me check one thing really quick. Does that mean you didn't change the key signature? You're still putting it in major, so the lines still mean the same thing, the spaces still mean the same thing.
Yes.
What does it mean then to like sing it in a natural minor scale? You're just shifting it up to D instead of starting at C?
Nope. It still is in C. I have still kept it in the key of C.
Yeah.
I have just put in accidentals, which is what we call notes that do not fit in the key signature. Look here. This should be the key signature place. And this should be the place where we see sharps or flats if we have changed the tonic, which is where we start our scale. In this case, the scale is actually C, right? Or C major scale. But in this particular case, I'm putting in accidentals that don't fit in the key of C. And that's why you're seeing the flats here. That's why the flats are actually here. Because those are notes that do not fit in the scale of C, because they're modified.
Okay, I don't actually know what it does to the song, so when you play the song, I think I'll understand what happened, because I'm not sure I do follow. Okay.
Get ready, because it's very bizarre. And I would like to play it from here, where we were in major, and then allow you to feel the difference of what it feels like in the minor scale. Because it will literally change the way that you feel about the music, the mood that we were talking about yesterday. It completely changes it, and it's very interesting to feel that. It's palpable. So here we go, major. This is the major one. Okay, so what did you guys think of that?
Okay, so essentially what you did is you took the same song and sang it in Nata Bhairavi or whatever it is, right? I forget if you're in harmonic minor or natural minor, but natural minor, so Nata Bhairavi. So you just changed those corresponding notes. You didn't necessarily, so the song is not the same. It's a different song because it's in a different ragam. But the notes, in a way, are
The
trying to stay the
sequence.
same. The sequence. Yeah, okay, got it. I understand what happened. Okay, cool.
So in Western music, we would actually use this change from the major scale to the natural minor scale as a compositional tool to vary the song. So in our minds, this is the same song. It's just in minor. And composers would use that technique to actually change and develop the concept of that initial melody that we heard that was in major, the one that Kartik sang. So composers would take things, and I'll show you in a minute how they use it, because there's a really just fantastic way to show this. But what did you guys feel about the melody, and did you feel the palpable change in how maybe sad it sounded, or
It sounded more thoughtful rather
yes,
than happy. I wouldn't say it sounded sad necessarily, but
yeah,
yeah, it sounded as though someone was in a more brooding mood and thinking about life instead of happily singing about life, maybe, something
Correct.
like
There was
that.
a mood
Yeah.
change.
And that's
interesting.
exactly how we use ragas. We use ragas for moods, right? And
Yeah.
and to give different emotions, and so it's cool to see the same song being sung in a different. We generally don't do that. I don't know. Others might know, but I don't think I've ever heard that happen in Indian music. Like to someone to demonstrate some kind of technique, maybe they would do it, but I've never heard it,
Yeah.
and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's done more
Just
as a, yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's done more like Kala was mentioning. In Indian music, it would be done more as a demonstration, and rather than generally, yeah. But some people do uh, have a, what do you call it? Mm, there are differences of opinion on some songs. So some people say it has to be sung in this raga. Some people say it has to be sung in different raga. So therefore, the notes chosen may be different because of this difference of opinion.
Interesting.
although
Okay.
the although the pattern would be the same. So that's pretty much similar to what you have done. But the whole thing may not be changed. Just one or two notes may be changed.
Now here, so if we take the natural minor and we go up here and look at the harmonic minor scale, which you recognized, and modified this natural minor. Remember, the harmonic minor does not have a flatted seventh. So there is no seventh. That would be the B, the middle line B. There is no B in the A section of that song. Na 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 na. There's no B in there, but there is when it goes up here. So if I go through this area here and change all of the B's back to B natural, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, I can do it quickly. Hold on. Sorry, it'll just give us that little half step. I don't know if you've seen the Jaws movie, the movie Jaws. This is the sound of the shark in Jaws chasing you. Here we go. Here is the same song in minor, but with the with the harmonic minor instead of natural minor, and see how this changes it, because it does again. So here we go. Let me find it. It bumped up here. I don't know what happened. Oh, I think I did the wrong thing. That's okay. So here's the beginning. It's only going to be one phrase of this. This is the ending phrase of the A section. harmonic minor. So you see, just by changing that one note, it changes the kind of feel of that particular thing too. I went from, I introduced to you first the major scale version of it, then I showed you the minor scale, and then instead of doing that B flat, I changed it to the B natural, and that also gives a different feel for that. And a composer in Western music would also, mess around with that particular thing. But the one thing I did want to show you guys is, let's go back to the minor again. I actually harmonized the raga or melody for us, the melody for you, and I harmonized it in a little kind of melody here in the bass section, and then I harmonized it with chords. But it's the same major melody in major key up here that you know. So listen to this, and then I'll go on to the next section, and I'll ask for questions too. So listen to this, because this is interesting too. A composer would put together harmonies that support the melody, and here's my take on it. So very simple compositional technique of harmonizing this. I took the melody that was original, and I put a harmony that matches the melody. But in this particular case, I just used a single line. So it would be like a soloist singing this, or a solo instrument playing one note at a time. And then down here, when it repeats the A section again, I put chords in this time instead of just a single melody. So it actually fills out the chord multiple notes, supporting that major melody there. So what do you guys think of that?
That was really, really cool.
Very good. Very good.
I got like a really cool idea from there. I wonder if we can get our chorus, like if we put the nottuswara, because that would be the easiest one, to put to music, and then create a harmonies for it. I wonder if we could sing it as a choir. Not as a big, like 30-person, whatever, 100-person choir, but even like 4 people, like a quartet or something.
Yes.
That'd be really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You guys talked about, you inspired me yesterday. Everybody's discussion was incredible yesterday because, first off, it fascinated me about the gender aspect of melodies. And I had thought of it before, but never, it's not something that we discuss in Western music. And it made sense to me because, in choir, we have male and female singing in a choir together. And I wanted to talk with you a little bit about Mozart, because Mozart was the king of that. If you guys talk about your 3, most important composers, probably our most important composers are Bach, who came first. He was born in 1680, something like that. He lived to be about, I can't remember how old he lived, but he did not live into Mozart's life. So he was dead before Mozart was born. Mozart was born in 1756, and he only lived 35 years. Bach wrote thousands of pieces of music. I think 1,000 something, and they're still not sure if some of them are actually his. But his pieces in that time frame were shorter than they were for Mozart's time, and especially Beethoven's time. Mozart wrote 40-something symphonies. Beethoven only wrote 9. And Beethoven lived longer than Mozart did. But he only wrote 9 because they were long. Beethoven's 9th is like an hour and a half long, something like that. an hour. It depends on how fast or slow the tempo is. But you know, so writing a lot of symphonies was not normal. Symphonies during Bach's time were not even there. They didn't even have the concept of symphony at that point. What we know as a symphony. But anyway, Mozart wrote about 600 pieces of music. Beethoven wrote 200 something pieces of music, again, because his pieces were longer. So as we progress in time, the length of time for those pieces just took more time to write down. And of course, Beethoven was deaf the last part of his life. So, you know, can you imagine trying to write all the music out being deaf and not knowing, you know, what your music actually sounds like? You can hear it in your head, but and by the way, that we call that audiation. I'm not sure if you guys have the same term. Hearing a melody in your head. You guys said, you know, well, na 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 na. You can continue the melody in your head, and most people can do that in their head. Some people can't, which those of you that can do it can't imagine not being able to continue that in your head. You know, na 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 na. You know, I can sing through it in my head, but some people cannot. It's very interesting to know that. I usually test students by singing Happy Birthday, because Happy Birthday is such a common song that everybody knows. And I go, Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. And then I say, could you hear the rest of the song in your head? And most of the kids will raise their hands, and some of them don't. And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's like, wow, that's interesting. But had Beethoven been one of those people that couldn't hear it, Beethoven couldn't have written that music. He would not have been able to write the music that he wrote when he was deaf. But Mozart, to me, he's the king. You know, the breadth of music of Bach is just so overwhelming. There's so many pieces of music. And I don't know how he had time to write all those since he had 21 kids. It just boggles my mind. It was like, how do you write all that music when you've got 21 kids running around? I don't know. And apparently a couple wives, one died in childbirth or something like that, but there was 21 kids. Oh my God.
Maybe that's why he wrote all that music.
He sequestered himself in a room and put cotton in his ears or something. I can't do it. So anyway, some of his kids died, of course. You know, people would have many kids, you know, at that time, and many of them would die. But anyway, yeah, I guess Beethoven didn't have kids because he never really married. Mozart did marry and had kids, but none of his kids had kids. So there are no direct descendants from Mozart. So anyway, Mozart in my mind is the king. He's I can recognize his music, you know, from all the classical composers. I can recognize his music in a short amount of time listening to it, because even if I've never heard it, he has a style that is very. I don't have any other word for it. There's a perfection and a catharsis to his music that gives me completion when I listen to it. It makes me feel like it's completed correctly. And I think that's what I appreciate about his music. But let me show you what Mozart did that is so fascinating to me. Mozart wrote, like I said, about 600 pieces of music. And when he was very ill toward the end of his life, and remember, he only lived to be 35. So he wrote 600 pieces of music by the time he was 35. He wrote his first opera, a full-scale opera, at the age of 12. I have kids at 12 who still pick their nose. So, you know, I mean, yeah, and you know, in class, you know, and here Mozart was writing a full opera at 12. I mean, he was literally incredible. He traveled all over Europe as a young child, and with his sister, who apparently, by all writings, was more talented than he was. But yes, there you go. They called her Nannerl. That was her name. But Nannerl, that's what the family called her. She was apparently more talented than Mozart was. But of course, women at that time were meant to be married and not to have a career in music. So he was the one that needed to make money doing music. She was supposed to go get married, and she did. And so there are descendants from her, but not from Mozart, from him directly. But it is interesting to know that the Mozart wrote copiously during his time, of course, in the carriage traveling all around Europe. So he would write letters back to his family. So not what you guys said yesterday, exactly the opposite of what you guys were talking about yesterday, saying that it's almost a mystery about some of these early composers that you guys have, your trinity. We have our trinity, and you have your trinity of composers. You have not much written about them. Mozart was literally writing his entire life story in his letters, and you can read his letters, and some of them are shocking, and some of them are disgusting, and some of them are ridiculous, and because it's a kid writing. It's a child writing. And even when he was older, in his 20s, it was like he never grew up. Many people thought he was autistic. As they look back, they read some of his writing and they think this is something, he focuses in on things that other people don't focus in on. He gets obsessed with certain things, and that is sometimes a characteristic of folks who are autistic. They think that he had some bipolarism, where he would work frantically and then go into depressive moods, and then not work, and then work frantically and never sleep, and then go into depressive moods where he slept all day, that kind of thing. They try to look back at history by his writings and by what other people wrote about him, because they did. He would come into kingdoms and perform there for money. And then all of the wealthy people that got to hear him would go back and write in their journals about him. So we have a lot of information about him from him and from others that gives us a pretty clear picture about him. Beethoven, the same. Bach, not as much. He was earlier, although people did write a lot about his music because there was so much of it. He was employed by a church, and he was responsible for those times of day where you do certain prayers in the Catholic Church, and he was responsible for music for every one of those times of day. So he wrote lots of music for each of those times of day that we still use. So anyway, Mozart wrote this thing called the Requiem, and in the Catholic tradition, and I am not Catholic, just so you know, in the Catholic tradition, they have what's called a Mass, and that's where they take communion, and they eat the bread of which has become the body of Jesus, and they drink the wine which has become the blood of Jesus during this communion where everyone does it, and those who are invited to that are in the family of God, is what it amounts to. A Requiem Mass, so that's a Mass. A Requiem Mass is said and communed for someone who has died. So Mozart wrote a Requiem Mass, and frighteningly, it was his own Requiem Mass. Not just simply he wrote it, but he died while writing it. So he never finished it. So part of what we hear as the Requiem Mass, he did not actually complete. His students completed it, and finally a man named Süssmayr completed it and finalized it. And kind of based on, they were students of his, so they knew what he would do. They knew what was stylistically correct during that time. And they also had sketchings by Mozart. Mozart would quickly write out things that he wanted to do, ideas he had, and he would quickly write them out, not full, like he wouldn't orchestrate the whole thing, but he would quickly write out melodies and put them down on paper, and then those students would take those melodies and put them into the Requiem. So that's how the Requiem, it's like if you know the story of Frankenstein, it's like putting together the pieces of Frankenstein to make a monster. But in this case, it's this beautiful piece of music. And I don't know if you guys are still screen sharing, but one of the pieces of by the way, that's Beethoven. He died in was born in 1770. And that is not what I want. That is not what I want. Let me see. Nope, that's not what I want. Where is it? Yeah, I don't know where it is. The words of this particular section, and the Requiem Mass is long. It's maybe 40 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, I think, when it comes right down to it. Let me see. 46 minutes. Yeah, there you go. 46 minutes of this piece. And there are little sections to it. If you can see the YouTube video, you can see the little sections that it's sectioned out into. And so there are many sections of this work. And I'm going to show you the Confutatis section, because this brings together all of the stuff that you guys were talking about yesterday. And in this particular case, they are pleading, they are talking about death and how and the concept of hell, going to hell or going to heaven. And of course people want to go to heaven in the Catholic-based tradition, and they don't want to go to hell because apparently it's some horrible place. So they thought very logically and I guess the word would be, truthfully about the flames of hell being actual flames. There's many interpretations of what the flames of hell mean. It may be, us living an entire life of pandemic. That would be hell for some people, but in this particular case, he's actually talking about the flames of hell. And he says, those that are confined to the flames of hell must endure this for their lives. And then it says, please save me. Now, as I looked at the gender aspect of this, it just made all the sense in the world to me. And when you hear it, you're going to go, oh my gosh, there it is. His music, when he's talking about the flames of hell, are rhythmically biting and mean sounding, and it sounds like turmoil. The composition, as you look at the music, you'll see lots of sharps and flats everywhere. Sharps and flats everywhere. And when it gets to and by the way, it's sung by men. The men are singing it. When it gets to the please save me section, it is women singing. It is in the key of C major. There are no sharps or flats, and it clears. It's as if the heavens have opened and it's cleared to heaven. It is very interesting that he used men for the hell and women for the angelic feeling of this music. So I'm going to let you hear this, and you'll be able to hear this pretty easily, I think, and you'll be able to see it because you can actually see the music. And even if it's like a big glob of like notes on the page, you can still recognize those sharps that look like little tic-tac-toe signs or the hashtag signs, and the flats that look like the little bees. You can still see those and see the preponderance of them. They're everywhere. And then you can see that they clear up when they say vocame, and it's the women. At one point, it comes together, so all men and women are singing together, and it says, the contrite and the supplicant, the person who bows down to the Lord or bows down to God, will be the ones who finally at their death are saved. And you can hear that. You'll hear the last word is finis, meaning finished. When you finally die, you will be saved. And at the end of the music, it is completely in C major. Like it's brilliant the way he did it. And you know, most people wouldn't look at it that way. They'd say, oh yeah, this is his confutatis. So here is Mozart's Confutatis Maledictis. It's in Latin, which all masses were written in Latin during that time, clear up until the 1960s, early 60s. And so here is Confutatis Maledictis by Mozart from his Requiem Mass. Sorry, it's going to reset.
One of the great challenges in this book is knowing enough about a subject to think you're right.
Here comes the Save Me. Here's the part about being a supplicant. Notice the sharps and flats. There are flats, a lot of flats in this section. Here comes sharps. Still flats. Sharps and flats. And here comes the end. C major. So that is the Confutatis Maledictis. Do you guys hear the definite sections and the definite feel of the change of this, how he uses the music to paint the picture of what is going on? Do you guys hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually have a question on that too. So, you know the Great Mass in C minor, right? Is that Mozart?
Yes.
So, did he just take like the Great Mass in C major and then shift it to C minor and make that song? Is there a Great Mass in C major? Like, is there one that's like the normal Great Mass and then he switched over the scale and made it the C minor and that's it? Or is there more to it than that?
There's way more to it than that.
Okay, got it.
But interestingly, composers did steal from themselves. So if they liked something that they did, they would use it in something else. Like I was listening to a Beethoven symphony the other day that I did not recognize. They're long, so remembering all of the different sections of it is impossible unless you performed it. And this is a symphony, so there was no singing in it, and it wasn't the Ninth Symphony. So, or I didn't think it was, and I kept hearing stuff that sounded like na 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 na. I kept hearing stuff that sounded like that, but it was one of his earlier symphonies, and he stole that when he was writing the Ninth Symphony. He stole that idea from his earlier symphony and stuck it in the Ninth Symphony. So composers would steal from themselves all the time if they had great ideas that they loved. And some of Mozart's stuff, earlier stuff, you can hear that he stole from himself. This, though, is pretty unique. And this was, as I said, written at the end of his life, so it was more mature work. It's not when he was like 18. He's 35 writing this. So I think he had already started to understand the concept of changing, that music was changing, because Beethoven was on the scene by this point, and Beethoven was making some changes. So anyway, does anybody else have any comments about that Confutatis Maledictis?
To be honest, it's a little too complex for me to fully comprehend. So I
Yes.
probably have to listen to it, by myself once or twice again to fully comprehend it. Yeah.
And if you are searching it, search that title right there. If you search Requiem, you're going to hear the whole Requiem, which is beautiful. I mean, there's just so many beautiful parts of it. But this one is a little, there are two very distinctively scary sections in this. Consigned to the Flames of Hell is pretty scary. So the music sounds scary. The other section of this is called the Dies Irae, and that is the second section of the Requiem over here, and it is also scary sounding, but the rest of it is more sublime. So the rest of the Requiem is more about doing good things in life and good deeds in life and things in life to be able to achieve the beauty of heaven, the place that you want to be, and your contrition to God is all through the Requiem. It's interesting to read the text of the Requiem Mass because and see it translated from the Latin to the English, because it's interesting. It's very different from the regular Mass. So anyway, I hope that you do go listen to this. It is, and listen to those sections. Listen to, for instance, let me see if I can see the that little figure at the beginning of it. Listen to it here. It's the he's depicting the flames in that particular part in the bass section. He's depicting the flames of hell reaching up to you to get you, like you're hanging, you're holding on to earth because you're getting ready to die and you're going to hell. It's like very visual for him, and you're falling into the depths of hell and the flames are licking at your feet, and that's the rising. It moves up and up and up, and that's what he's depicting there. And again, the men sound angry. The men, very much contrast to the that the women are singing, very, very much in contrast. And I think this is a study in compare and contrast for Western music. This is a great piece to actually contrast feeling, philosophy, musical concepts and stuff. It's really kind of a brilliant little piece, little 2-minute piece. Anyway, please go listen to it and just let it kind of wash over you, and then maybe look at this particular site. I'll put it in the forum so that you can access it immediately, and I'll give you a timestamp so you can find this particular thing immediately. And hold on a second. Sorry, I had to cough. And that way you can listen to it and see if you can start to get the different sections that he's made there. Does anybody have any questions?
No, it was really cool. I think it's a lot of information to digest. I'm going to be sitting and staring at this for a while.
Yeah, it's really cool, and a lot of stories. I learned a lot today, so it's really nice. I was going to post this, but Ilayaraja has How to Name It album. I don't know if any of you have heard it. I will post it if you want to search on that. It's based on Vox music. I heard. If you search for How to Name It by Ilayaraja, you might find it's all based on Vox music. That's what I've heard.
Nice.
Yeah, you may want to listen and what you think about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. So you're going to post it in the forum?
Yeah, I will post it here.
Awesome. Thank you.
One more question, addition actually to what you were saying about Mozart being the most brilliant of them all. We have yesterday Kumar was talking about Bengali music. So
Yes.
and about film music in films, which is very, very popular in India. So we had a music director in India by name. He was a Bengali. His name was Salil Chaudhary, and he used to adopt a lot of Eastern music, East European tunes, and one of that is the Mozart tune. And I think it's in G minor. I think it goes.
Yes.
He's adapted that.
Yeah. That's a symphony, actually. That's one of Mozart's later symphonies.
Did he make the song, is Salil Chaudhary's song, this is the one with Nutan, right? So, Itna na mujhse to pyar badha ke main ek badal awara. Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I like that song a lot too.
And put words to it. That's cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I'll see if I can find that symphony and let you guys hear it. I'll look it up.